What's going on, everyone? This is Jabari K. Smith, and you are experiencing the Professional Athlete. Check this out, y'all. Today, it's about to really go down. I got a real special guest, and I know you're going to hear me say special guest. Maybe I'm lucky to always have special guests, but this guy right here is special. First of all, I got a fellow Trojan with me. So you already know they produce greatness all the time. But no, the reason why this guy is remarkable because one, his story, but two, what he's doing for the community. I have special guests with me, Thomas Williams. What's going on?
Jabari, what's going on, man? I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, definitely. Listen, we gonna jump right into it, man.
Oh, let's go. I brought my swim trunks. Let's get it.
Exactly. Let me throw out some things that are unique about you. First of all, you're a self-published author, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
yes, sir. That's what they said.
That's what they said. Pursuit of greatness, right?
Yep.
And permission to dream.
Yes, sir. Permission to dream and the relentless pursuit of greatness,
The
man.
relentless
That's all
pursuit of
we're trying to
greatness.
get. We're just trying to pursue greatness. We don't care if we get there. We're just trying to pursue it.
Exactly. So before we get into that, I need share with us your background, man. Who is Thomas?
Oh man, who? You know what's so funny? At 32 years old, I think like I'm finally starting to answer that question. Who? I'll tell you what I've been through.
Okay.
So originally, I was raised in a small town in Northern California called Vacaville, which is right between Sacramento and San Francisco, and it's the place that you stop and you get gas when you're going from one to the next.
Okay.
And so was raised there, got a scholarship out of high school to go to USC. And I thought football was my purpose. And I think like every other young athlete who's out there balling, thinking, I don't need school, I don't need grades, I don't need anything else. You give me a ball, give me a jersey, give me some cleats, and I'm going to make some plays, and then let's make it happen.
Yeah.
And then after that, went off to USC, and I had a nice slice of humble pie.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is that I went finally from a big fish in a small pond to all of a sudden I was a small fish in a big pond going to USC. We had a great recruiting class. We had a phenomenal team that was already ready to rock and roll there. And they had just come off playing in the Orange Bowl. They beat Iowa. I mean, everything's firing. And went to USC, and then I'll fast forward through a little bit of the story. I only started 10 games in 4 years.
Okay.
And in 2008, 2007 season, I was thinking that, you know what, maybe the writing's on the wall. Maybe I'm supposed to do something else with my life, and I'm not supposed to play professional sports like I always dreamed of.
Right.
And so what happens? You know, sometimes, at least for me, I found out that the greater the storm, the greater the blessing.
Absolutely.
And I went through 2 surgeries at USC, not playing, having guys like Ray Malaluga, Brian Cushing, Keith Rivers, Kaluka Maava. The list goes on and on and on. They're taking my job. They're taking my spot. Now all of a sudden I'm finding myself not on the field anymore, but now on the bench. But in my senior year, man, it was a blessing. I played well. We did great. And I ended up getting drafted, man.
Wow.
155th pick overall in the 2008 NFL draft. The Jacksonville Jaguars called me. I'm hyped. And played football for 5 years. Thought, again, that was my purpose. Had another slice of humble pie in 2011 when I had a career-ending neck injury and laid on the ground for about 90 seconds, wasn't able to move. And that's all she wrote. It was time to transition.
Right.
So we all know about transitions.
Trust me, we do. As tough as they are. Absolutely. Man, that's great, man. I mean, you got to reach the pinnacle of the sport, you know, for however long that is. I mean, and you played for, like I said, a historical team. I mean, we know the greatness that, you know, USC has. So,
Right.
I mean, before I even get into that, because you had mentioned something earlier, you said from an early age you thought football was your destiny. And I can relate to that because that was me. That age for me was 13 is when I said to my father, I'm going to be a professional football player.
Yep.
And my dad just kind of shook his head like, yeah.
Sounds good.
Exact. Sounds good. But like,
Right.
He's like, do you know the numbers to that? He's like, you got a better chance of winning a lotto. But I think a lot of kids, and you're coming from small town and I'm coming from big city. So we all pretty much experience that in what I call, athletic identity. The moment your community says, hey, you got a talent, you have a gift, we put that badge of honor on us. Like,
That's who I am.
Yeah, that's who I am. And that's how I walked around. So you can relate to the same thing.
No question.
Okay.
No question. I
Okay.
mean, anytime for me, I tell people all the time, before I ever started playing football, sports was the only thing I got complimented on.
Yep,
right?
same
So
here.
parents out there, listen to this. Coaches out there, listen to this. You have to communicate and you have to compliment your student athletes or your athletes who are also students, vice versa, on things outside of athletic ability.
Yep.
And the reason why I say that is because for me, growing up in Northern California, my dad wasn't in my life. Where did I get that feeling of being a man, being
validation?
masculine?
Yeah.
The validation came from sports. And so for me, I just kept getting complimented and praised for sports. And so it wasn't necessarily the A's or the B's that I was trying to bring home.
Yeah.
It was the home runs I hit.
Yeah.
The touchdowns I scored.
Yeah.
The big hits on the football field. And so the reason why I was so devoted to my athletic identity was because exactly that. I never got complimented for anything else. If I brought home an A or a B, it was expected. But you hit a 2-run home run in the bottom of the 7th inning to win the game, and that's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Now, all of a sudden, I'm feeling good when I walk through the door. You know
Yep.
what I mean? So that is exactly why I had such a hard time discovering the difference between my athletic identity and my personal identity.
Okay. So then you being young and realizing this, how was your support system as far as in your family, the community? And I know, like, you know, you were highlighted as this gifted athlete, but, like, how did they back you up in your upbringing?
So early on, my mom and grandparents and my stepdad at the time always preached academics.
Okay.
Because you hear from a young age, athletics are great. It's a short, it's a temporary outcome. And education is forever. I remember watching the program growing up.
Okay.
Right,
Yeah.
Darnell Jefferson,
Yeah.
Omar Epps,
Yep,
right?
Yep.
And they said you can have you can have your education forever, but your career can instantly go.
Absolutely.
And so that's what was preached when I was younger, and as I started to grow up and to develop into sports and all of my athletics, then I started to get praise, a higher praise, which felt like it from my community, from my family, from my friends, that, wow, everybody's talking about the game on Friday night.
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about how I got a 3.5 my first semester in high school.
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about that because there's so many other kids in the school that were probably doing that.
Right.
But for me, it was a big deal because I had a 2.3 grade point average in 8th grade, and then I get a 3.5 grade point average my first semester in high school. And my mom was the only person, I'll never forget, that day the report card came, and she was like, Thomas, and I was playing video games. And I was like, oh, man, I know what happens every year at this time. I got to stop playing video games for about a month because I got bad grades and my mom's taking everything away. So I'm trying to get my last play in on Madden.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I walk to the kitchen. I'm like, yeah, Mom. She's like, whose report card is this? So I'm thinking in my head, like, wow, maybe somebody, they sent somebody else's report card, which means that the mail's not going to come on Sunday.
Right.
So at least until Monday.
I got the rest of the weekend.
Exactly,
Yeah,
right?
get it in.
So at least the rest of the weekend, and she shows it to me, and it was 3 A's, 3 B's, which was 3.5.
Yeah.
And my mom at that moment showed me how important grades were.
Wow.
Because she took the moment and said, look what you did.
Okay.
And so it slowed down. So for me, I had a little bit of that, like, kind of imprint in my mind in 9th grade.
Yeah.
But as far as athletics, oh no, Friday night, Saturday,
Yeah.
Sunday, Monday, all throughout the games, you got coaches, you got teachers, you got people who you don't even know at the school, people you don't know around the town, like, hey man, I saw you at the game, man, that was a heck of a hit, heck of a catch, heck of a hit. And it's that validation, as you said earlier, it makes us feel godlike.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like higher,
Absolutely.
like higher. So what are we gonna do? I want to feel that again. So what do I need to do to feel that again? I gotta go out and ball again.
Yep. Yeah. It's that rush. Something happens. I mean, listen, athletes get addicted to it just like the R&B or the rapper.
Right.
You know,
Right.
it's that I think you quoted the same feeling of getting would you say stadium applause?
Stadium
Yeah, I
applause.
call it the same feeling you get from running out of the
Yep,
tunnel.
yep,
So it's the
yep.
same thing, and it's like when it's taken away, you search for it again.
The
And
applaud.
the applaud, yeah.
Yep.
And so the problem, and maybe you can relate to this, when it was all over for me, I was like, what can I do that's going to, one, give me the same rush,
Yep.
the same fulfillment,
Right.
and the same challenge.
Right.
And I'm just looking, and I'm going down. I was like, what? Firefighter, police officer. But then at the end of the day, we in professional sports, same paycheck as well. So it's
Right,
like, what
right.
adds up to that?
Right.
And it had to come to that conclusion. It was like, there's nothing on that script, so I'm going to have to recreate who I am.
You got to recreate it.
Exactly.
You got to recreate it. And however, and so for me and what I'm doing now when I teach to the student athletes at the various colleges is I say, you don't ever have to stop playing football. You just might not be able to tackle people anymore.
Yes.
So for me, being a motivational speaker, being an adjunct professor, or being somebody in front of an audience, as a middle linebacker, that's all I did.
Exactly.
I took the information from the defensive coordinator, and then I relayed it to the 10 other guys in the huddle. And so now what do? That when I speak to the point of contacts or the gatekeepers at the different venues and places, I take the information that they tell me, then I just articulate it to the 15, 20, 100, 1,500, 5,000 people who are sitting in front of me, and it's the same thing.
Yes.
So it's take what you know.
Yes.
Recreate it and transfer it into something else.
Absolutely.
So it's like the same thing, but it's how do you find it if you've never had the opportunity to know you had it in the first place.
In the first place.
Right.
Yep.
So it's one of those things that you have to take inventory, no different than when you're studying film or when you're studying your opponent and you're saying, okay, when we do this, they do this. When we do that, they do this.
Yeah.
So taking the same type of awareness and then now and putting it into yourself and saying, what was I so good at wide receiver? What was I so good at DB? What was I so good at linebacker? You know, did I really like to lift weights? Did I really like to, go out there and hit people? I'm finding out right now. There's nothing in the world that you could pay me to go back out there and hit people. I don't want. I didn't want. I played it, and I was
did it because you
physical.
had to, right?
Because you had to, because you didn't know any better, right?
Exactly.
But now I know better, so I do better.
Exactly.
So it's one of those scenarios where you have to take inventory and say, okay, what made me such a great elite athlete?
Yeah.
And now this can take me into the next phase of my life, and I can't remember when I heard it and how I did, but someone said, if you can be a part of a $14 billion a year entity, take some of the same skills, don't you think that you can be a millionaire, 100,000-aire?
Yeah.
Like if just take a little bit from what you learn from the Robert Krafts of the world, the Bill Belichick's, the Pete Carrolls.
You're absolutely right.
Like, and now you just say, okay, I don't need to reinvent the wheel. I'm just going to take what I learned there and apply it here.
Apply it here.
Because it's the quote of, good artists copy.
Yeah.
Great artists steal.
Yes.
So why am I going to try and reinvent the wheel? I'm going to take what I learned in the NFL.
Yeah.
If y'all making $14 billion, I don't need that much.
Yeah.
But shoot, maybe I could be a millionaire.
Exactly.
Or maybe I can be 100,000-aire.
Exactly.
What about living a comfortable life?
Comfortable life.
That's it.
Or pursuing my own dream or what I'm called to do.
Right.
So it's interesting you said that. And I'm going to ask you when you kind of had your aha moment, but I'm going to share with you mine.
Yeah.
So I was 26, came home 2008 from playing arena football. Of course, the economy crashed. So I'm like, what do I do? I'm depressed. I'm going through my 5 stages of grief because it's over. And I'm like, I'm back in my community and they're asking me like, what happened? Because as I left as a superstar, now I'm back. So what's the next step?
Right.
So I do what anybody that doesn't have a plan B. I go back to school, further my education,
Right.
get my master's degree. And so during that time, I started doing research on just athletics, African Americans in sports, and just my position.
Right.
And then that's when I started discovering me. So when the light bulb kicked on is when I was like, I'm doing all this self-discovering, and I'm like, wait a minute. No one has to tell me to wake up early to go work out. No one has to tell me to go read what I'm reading right now or put in this effort.
Right.
And I'm like, I learned that from playing sports because if I didn't do that, someone was going to take my spot. And then I started doing research on all these other successful people in the world, like Elon Musk and all of these people. And I'm like, wow, they do the same thing. I'm like, hold up. I already have this in my DNA, in my fabric. And then that light bulb hit. I'm like, okay, I just need to apply everything that I learned from playing sports into my everyday life, and I'm gonna hit some home runs.
Right.
And it's funny. It's like once that moment happened, it felt like I was a whole new person. Like a whole cloud just lifted from over me. I'm like, okay, where do I start? How do I go and get this going?
You found the treasure in the sand.
Exactly.
Right. Like that's
Exactly.
the thing that we're searching for is that what can fill the void that we have now that we're not able to do this passion that we've always had. And so for me, I had 2 aha moments. The first one came in 2010. I got cut from the New England Patriots, where people don't think you get cut.
Right.
People don't think that you sometimes don't get a paycheck.
Yeah.
But unfortunately for me, that happened. So I'm unemployed for 6 weeks, and I'm hanging out on my couch, living in my house here in L.A., unemployed, not making money. And so I thought that, oh, okay, I guess a statistic of NFL career is average of, 2.5, 3 years. I'm right in the middle of my third year. So I'm thinking, wow, I must be the statistic.
Wow.
Okay, so Thomas, it's time to transition. It's time to do something else, time to move. But then I called up a couple of my other buddies, I said, who were still playing. I said, if you guys weren't playing football right now, what would you do? And everybody had the same answer. What do you think it was?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. And I'm thinking, oh, yes, finally. Finally, like, I don't know either.
Yeah.
So I'm not crazy.
Yeah,
I'm not
exactly.
weird. I'm not out there, right? This is normal.
Yeah.
And so for me, during that time, I created a PowerPoint presentation that was going to be about 90 minutes that I was going to go to universities and go, look, once you stop playing, those opportunities are long gone.
Dude.
The door stops knocking.
Stops. Yes.
The phone stops ringing.
Yes.
And the emails don't get responded to.
Absolutely.
So I'm thinking in 2010, this is going to be something, and I was going to call it first down.
Okay.
And the reason why I was going to call it first down is because, obviously the closer you get to a first down,
Yeah.
the more you get touchdowns, so on and so forth. So I was planning on doing, seminars, going around to different colleges and universities. So I was introduced to the transition a little bit before it actually happened.
Okay. So you had a little bit of a head start.
I had a little bit of a head start, but, it's one of those things that it doesn't make it easier.
Yeah, because you're still locked in because you're like, there's still a chance.
There's still a chance.
And I didn't mean to cut you off, but that's the hard part about just competitive sports. Like, even though your coaches and your family tells you, have a plan B or you may not make it, in order to play at a high competitive level, you can't even think like that. You got to be like, well, it doesn't apply to me. Or you're not going to make it. Nope. So it's kind of like a contradictory. Like, you're not going to be good unless you have this type of intense focus of saying that, listen, I'm going to run through every barrier and door. But at the same time, at the end of the day, you just might not be good enough, and and it is what it is.
Right.
So it's like, how do you transfer the same type of mentality? So that's what happened to me. It was like, all right, I hear, because I had a pretty solid support system. Like, my dad set me down, my uncles, who was a very successful person. He was like, listen, here's the odds. Yes, you're good, but anything may happen. You may get hurt. Who knows? The coach just may not like you.
Right.
But I'm like, I can't listen to you, because if I do, I'm going to believe that, and then that's going to happen. So I got to believe this. So it's like, what do we tell the youth that needs to keep that same 100% mentality, but at the same time, put some things in order for if the inevitable does happen? Because it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. How do they put those steps? And this is where you know.
So for me, what I learned in 2014 is when I did my first player development class at USC.
Okay.
So I went in there and I had 46 student athletes in the summer for 5 sessions, and we had men's football, women's soccer, women's volleyball, and I think that's it. There might have been one other sport, but the interesting enough fact, just like you said, is that one of the questions I asked immediately is, how many of you guys can share with us, the rest of the class, your interview/internship experience?
Wow.
And I got crickets.
Yeah.
46 people.
Yeah.
And these aren't all freshmen. These aren't all sophomores. These are freshmen through seniors.
Yeah.
And so asking that question, it let me know again what the epidemic is.
Yeah.
Because if I think about something else, I might not be able to pursue or actually get to the place I've always wanted to get to.
Gotcha.
So listening to Jay-Z, because I think hip-hop music speaks so much truth.
It does.
And so I'm listening to Jay-Z, and then I start to wonder, what is Jay-Z? Who is this guy? So I'm reading his book, I'm listening to his music, I'm watching the interviews on YouTube, and I'm finding out that Jay-Z only did, so we see Jay-Z as, right now, the rap star, right? What did Jay-Z do before? He did something illegal. However, he did it illegally to get into the studio.
Exactly.
So Jay-Z did that first, then he started rapping, then he comes out with a clothing line, and then he starts getting involved with all these other brands, these international big-time brands, but the reason why he's in those brands is because of what he did on the stage, what he did in the studio.
Yep.
So here's how I prefaced it, and here's how I started to ask the question. How much are you leaving on the table if you only think about your sport?
Okay.
So I ask, in addition to going to the NFL, the NBA, Major League Soccer, whatever your sport is, in addition to your pursuit to your personal greatness, what else can you be doing? Because I found out when I was doing my research, the average millionaire has 7 streams of income.
Yes.
7.
Yes.
So if you only thinking about sports, that's 1.
Yep.
So you've just eliminated or decreased your chances of becoming a millionaire.
Yep.
And if you don't want to be a millionaire, stick to one thing.
Stick to one thing.
And then be exactly what the rest of the world thinks that you are, which is incompetent, uneducated, untalented.
Yeah.
You don't have enough talent.
Yeah.
So why don't you do as many things as you can? Because if you can study a playbook, if you can go to class, if you can sit there and
Yep.
say, you know what, my opponent this week is this school or this team, and next week you're going to do it again, you have a great ability and an
Yep.
amazing skill to be able to do multiple things.
Yep.
They call that multitasking.
Multitasking.
Hello,
Yeah.
right?
And we do it every week.
For for
At
all
a
of my
high
student
level.
athletes, I ask the question of how much are you leaving on the table, and then I ask the question this way. So at USC the first year, all of the student athletes were taking this class and they received a stipend check. And I asked them, how many of you guys have internships this summer? None. Okay. I asked them another question. How much money are you guys going to get paid this summer going through the class? And let's just say the number was in the 3 months, let's just say it was $2,000.
Okay.
I said, what if you can double that? So again, going back to what's your motivation? A lot of our motivation to play professional sports is monetary.
Money. Yeah. At the end of the day, it's money.
It's money,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So we have a passion, but we want to make bread because there's not a lot of people who are going out after college and
Yeah.
playing just right over here in the park
Exactly.
and playing, busting their heads up.
Exactly.
So it's the money,
It's
it's
money.
the fame and success. So I said, in addition to doing that, what if we can double what you're going to make this year? So instead of 2, let's get 4.
Okay.
How do I do that? Now all of a sudden they're tapped in.
Okay.
Now all of a sudden they want to know where. And I tell them, look, you get an internship. So all these people who are in the world trying to sit there and say the NC2A takes advantage of us as student athletes. Well, look, I don't know about you guys, but I would have never had an opportunity to play in front of 92,000 people every single week
Right.
for 4 straight years
Exactly.
if I would have just kicked it in Vacaville.
Exactly.
So
Gotcha.
here's the thing. 92,000 people, that's 92,000 opportunities. And so how many people came to your school in college before you? Alumni who got network,
Yep.
who own companies. They
Yep.
don't work at companies. They own
own 'em.
companies.
Yeah.
And you go in there and you say, hi, my name is Thomas Williams. I'm a freshman, play football, national champs, whatever. I would like your business card, or I would like an internship, or I'd like an interview.
Yep.
Boom.
Yep.
Now all of a sudden you flip the coin on the other
Yep.
side and you say, I'm not getting pimped by the NC2A.
Yeah.
The NC2A is going to get pimped by me.
Yeah, I'm milking. I'm about to start milking.
I'm
Exactly.
going to take everything and I'm going to
Yep.
squeeze everything out of the NC2A so
Yep.
that at the end of the day, I took more from you than you took from me. You might have took a
Absolutely.
little bit of time. You might have
Absolutely.
messed up my shoulders, my knees a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
bit.
yeah.
But you know what? At the end of the day,
Yep.
I'm going to use your network. I'm going to use your name. I'm going to use your brand.
Yep.
And I'm going to get paid.
Absolutely. Man, listen, you are hitting it on the nail. That's what I tell the kids I'm mentoring. I'm like, listen, for that 4 years that you're there, you're on a pedestal. The light is on you. That people are going to come up to you that you don't even know who they are, but they
Right.
know who you are. That's your opportunity
Yep.
to say, because when you leave, good luck trying that again.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you hit
Exactly.
it on the nail on that one.
Yeah.
So that's what you educate the people the youngsters that you talk to now, as far as in how to navigate while they're there, using that platform while they're there.
Yeah, because I mean, a guy told me he was a rookie in the NFL my first year in college. So he told me he was a 2nd round draft pick, NFL team, and he said, "Look, young man, I'm gonna tell you the honest to God truth. I just got drafted. They're already trying to replace me." And I'm thinking, what do you mean you just got drafted? It's not like you've been playing sports for 10 years. He's
Yeah.
like, no, I just got drafted.
Yeah.
And they're trying to replace me.
It's true.
And another thing that I teach is that each day that you walk into the locker room, you're walking closer to your retirement.
It's true.
That like it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So you don't have to think about backup plan or plan B.
Yeah.
Just start to venture off into doing some other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like we know that after high school, there's college. After college, maybe professional. So
Right.
think of after the professional, you got to have the what's next.
What's
So
next?
like we always treat it like it's this doom gloom. It's like, no, okay, let's transition, let's pivot, let's think of something else.
Exactly.
And what you mentioned earlier is like find something that comes natural to you that is a passion. Perfect example, and you hit it on the nail. It's like, okay, I play DB, so my position, I'm comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yep.
I'm always on the island. I'm
On it by
always
yourself.
always by myself. I can easily be exposed, and I'm always the one that's set up to be embarrassed.
Right.
So I condition myself to have short-term memory.
Yep.
And in business is like that. I'm in sales, so I hear more no's than I hear yes.
Right.
So that's just like getting scored on. I
Yeah.
got to be like, all right, next play. So I learned to develop that tough skin or that skill
Right.
to feel that way. So I mean, like you said, you learn to engage. You learn to take in information and disseminate it to everyone else on the field and
Exactly.
apply it. Well, you're positioned to be a boss.
Right, right,
You're
right.
groomed to be a CEO. That's
Exactly.
what it is. So it's interesting. And if kids can channel in on that and be like, oh, I already got the juice. Because I tell you what, when we walked on campus our freshman years, and this is where, the self-handicap comes in. And it's no guilt to the NCAA. They're doing the best that they can to set us up. But this is where it can be a self-handicap. I don't know about you, but the moment I stepped on campus, my classes were already selected. My books were already there. I just had to go to a certain place to pick them up versus the other freshmen that had to pick their own classes, buy their own books, intern, had a side job. So fast forward, we're both seniors. They're light years ahead of me on the mature level because everything was kind of set up and done for me.
Right.
So it's like, okay, and this is the person you're competing with for a job.
Right.
And when you go into that exec's office and ask for a job, you can't sit down and be like, well, I'm team oriented. I work hard. They're not trying to hear that. They want to hear, okay, well, how can I know that you can produce for my company? How can I know that you can help increase revenue?
Right.
And that other, your other senior counterpart already has the answers for that. So like, how do we give you the tools, to be able to compete on that level?
Yeah. And that's a great point, because you're right. There's certain things. I mean, it's the blessing is the curse is the blessing, however you want to look at it. So you go to school, you have all of your practice times, your weightlifting, your training, your, when you're going to eat, you have an itinerary. And so, yeah, that might enable you a little bit. But at the same time, if I've always found that if you have some type of story where you can show and share that work ethic, when you can show and share that leadership, when you can say, you know what, this was one of our struggles. And I remember we started out, and this is for an example, I remember we started out 2-6 in the, or 1-3 in the regular season. And I remember that it was going to be my senior year. And all of a sudden I said, you know what? I'm going to start watching film, and I'm going to start bringing the rest of the team in. We're going to watch film at 6 a.m. or 6 p.m. And we started out with 10 guys, and then we got up to 50 guys, and then we got the whole team who was watching film like that all throughout the course of the year. And we turned our 1-3 record into an 8-3 record and went to the playoffs, and we won. Went two rounds deep into the playoffs. So I don't have the story like the 99% of the other students that are on campus. But I have a story of real experience where there was a problem. I, as the leader, or whoever as the leader, came up with a solution, and the solution worked.
Exactly.
Where, again, what's better, to have knowledge or to have wisdom? Right? Knowledge is what you read in a book. Wisdom is the life that you experience. And so it's real life experience is going to, I believe, is going to actually talk to and speak to that CEO or that executive, whoever you're meeting with and interviewing. Because look, if you want to win, right? What are you saying Friday nights? If you want to win, let booby spin. Let booby spin, right? Let them run the rock. Let booby spin. So it's based off of like things like that, where you have a story and there was a problem, and that we were actually able to overcome it. Because at the end of the day, business wants results. What was the results? I don't care about what your resume says. I don't care about what grade you got in class, because you know what? That's not real. That's real testing. But that's not real. Hey, this is a problem. This needs to be resolved. And now let's get this money.
And that's how sports is. Like, at the end of the day, they want results. They don't care that you was an All-American. It's like, hey, when you on this field, I need you to produce.
Right.
So just transitioning. I got a few questions for you before I get it. I got some important ones, but I want to take it back a little bit, because, like I said, you got the opportunity to play for USC at a time when, like I said, it was legendary. Kind of walk me through that, man. How was that experience? I mean, you played with some
goodness.
People,
I mean, looking back at it, so my freshman year, I wanted to quit. I literally tried to quit twice. First time was during training camp, when the first time, we go to college. Maybe some of us have never been coached hard because we've been all-stars. And I'm getting yelled at because, one, I don't know where to line up. I don't know what gap is mine. I don't know what my responsibility is. And I promise you, I'm paying attention to meetings, and none of this stuff makes sense. It's all a foreign language. Youngsters out there, make sure you study your playbook. You got to study your playbook, right? So all of a sudden, I call my mom one day after training, one of her practice. I'm like, I'm coming home. And she goes, look, we might not get it early, but if we stick around long enough, we're going to eventually get it. So I didn't quit. But the reason why I bring up that story is because it was such a light bulb moment, letting me know that people in your city, people on your team, people in your state are good. People in the country are great. And it's like the pyramid. So the higher you go, the harder it gets. And now I'm running up against guys who are outweigh me by 100 pounds and are just as fast as me.
Just as fat,
or just as strong or stronger. And there's nothing that I was able to do that worked in high school. It wasn't able to work in college. And so I get there, and then I redshirt. But over that year of redshirting, I think the maturation process kicked in.
Okay.
And let me know that things that come fast aren't worth it.
Yep.
And if they come fast, they're going to go fast.
They're gonna go fast.
And
You're
if
right.
you absolutely want something, you're going to have to put in the same amount of effort that matches the results that you want.
Got you.
So if you want NFL, you got to give NFL caliber sacrifices,
Okay.
dedication, all of that. So then I like going into my second year, I'm looking around. So I'm a redshirt freshman, and I'm looking around. And now in 2017, but this was 2004, these guys, every single one of our practice squad players or our redshirt team
Wow.
made it to the NFL. Every single one of us. And I'm not just talking about one side of the ball, maybe defense. I'm talking about offense too.
Yeah.
We had guys on offense who are still playing in the NFL. We had
Yeah.
guys on defense scout team who are still playing in the NFL.
Yeah.
And so that's another nugget I want to give you guys. Understanding that just because you're not first team doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to make it to
Yeah.
that ultimate level. Think about a guy like Clay Matthews. Walk on. Big bucks. He's getting paid quarterback
Yeah.
money right now.
Yeah.
And so that was another moment where I was like, whoa, we have our
Yeah.
backups, our second and our third team guys who can go.
Yeah.
And another funny story is the only time we talked about it. So we used to come to the sideline, I'm sure like everybody else, right? You come to the sideline, you're talking with your boys, you're like, man, that dude's fast, or man, that dude's sorry, or man,
Yeah.
you see me on that last play? We came to the game, we came to the sideline every time and be like, man, our walk-ons or our scout team was harder than this. And the only game we ever played in where guys were like, they better than our scout team,
Right.
was the 2006 national championship when we lost to Texas.
Texas. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
that was the only time when we
They
came.
was legit.
Right.
They beat us too. Yeah, I got to experience that too.
Right, firsthand.
Yeah, firsthand. Yeah, they legit, man.
Right. So that was what the experience was like. It was that you're competing with the best of the best every single day.
Yeah.
And then also what it taught me in that experience was I can literally have 2 days in one. So 2 days, you wake up, you lift in weights, you go to class, then you come and it's practice time, and then you got weights, and then you have to eat, and then you have study hall, where you're not getting home till 9, 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And your day started, you woke up at 5:30.
Yep.
You woke up at 5:30, and you're not getting to bed till 11. And
Yep.
this is Groundhog Day. This don't just happen once a week. This happens every day.
Every day. Yeah.
So that was that.
Think about and how it just preps you. I mean, I don't know about you, but my schedule is like that. I get up 5:30,
Yep.
I go work out.
Yep.
Now I add some meditation into my schedule. I
Yep.
read, and it's like I don't know anything else. I feel like if I missed it, and like I said, I'm not as disciplined where I do it every day,
Right,
but I do
right.
it more days out of the week than
Yep.
I don't.
Yep.
Because if I don't, I'm gonna feel like I'm missing something or somebody has an edge
Yeah.
on me. And
Yep.
it's like your vitamin or your drug. And I'm like, okay, you only learned that from being there. The only group of people that I can attest that has the same type of rigorous schedule as like people from the military. I talk to some military people
Yep.
and they got an intense
Yeah.
regimen.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean, it's
Yep.
the same type of. I mean, it's if you sit down and talk to people from that world and that environment, it's the same type of mentality. We
I know.
all wired the same way.
I know
It's
it.
crazy.
I know it, and it's good, right? Because it keeps us. It keeps us in line. Like
Yeah.
if you experience greatness at that level,
Yeah.
why would you change it?
Why would you change it?
Greatness doesn't go. Okay, you can only be great in sports, or you can only
Exactly.
be great in business, or you can only be a great parent, or a husband, or
Exactly.
wife, or whatever it is. Greatness is like, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't have an
Exactly.
attachment.
Speaking of greatness, man. So the relentless pursuit of greatness.
Yeah.
How did that come about, man?
Oh man, the relentless pursuit of greatness. So after I wrote my first book in 2014, I was like, all right, I'm done. I'm done writing books. I don't want to write any books anymore until I was at the National NC2A conference down in Orlando in 2015, and I was in my room and I'm unpacking. It was like after the first night, and so we had the reception and there was a couple of meetings, and I remember unpacking in my room, and I was kind of taking a little bit of inventory, and I was just kind of analyzing what took place down in the meetings with the academic advisors, the athletic directors, and people who are associated with the academic aspect with student athletes at college. And I remember feeling like everybody keeps underlining the problem.
Okay.
Why? What's wrong with the athletes? Why do they spend all their money? What's wrong with the athletes? Why can't they transition? Why are people committing suicide because they can't play sports? Why? And to be honest with you, I was a little ticked off.
Okay.
And the reason why I was ticked off is because, one, I'm sure like you, where it's a fraternity.
It is.
As an athlete, at whether it's high school, whether it's college, whether it's professional, it's a fraternity.
It
And
is.
so once you talk about one of us,
Yeah.
you talk about all of us.
Talk about all of us.
And once one of my brothers is struggling, then I feel like I'm struggling a little bit. And I was really offended because of how many people, and I found out that the people who were having these issues or were underlining the problems, they weren't student athletes themselves, and so they never experienced it.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, instead of underlining the problem that's obvious,
Right.
why not come up with a solution?
Okay.
Why not be part of the group that says, you know what, let's forget the problem. The problem exists.
Yeah.
It ain't going nowhere.
It ain't going nowhere.
So why don't we come up with a solution to the problem, so now all of a sudden we can say, look, if you don't have your sleeves rolled up,
Yeah.
or if your feet aren't in the trenches, you ain't got nothing to say.
You ain't got nothing to say.
So
Yep.
on that day, man, God put it in my spirit and was like, you're going to write your next book. And I was like, no, God, I'm not writing my book again. I'm not writing. I did it one time. I'm done and finished. Until over the course of that week, I think that I got sick and tired of being sick and tired
Yeah.
of the problems
problem.
and of the issues,
Yeah.
where I said, all right, the information that's been given to me, I need to pass it along.
Okay.
The information that I knew when I was a student athlete, I need to share that too. And what have I learned from being a high school senior to now? I was 30 years old at the time. What information can I pass along to the younger me, my little brothers, little sisters who are coming up,
Yep.
and going, look, you don't have to struggle. Let me open your eyes so that you don't have to continue to listen to the problems.
Yes. Yes. You ain't got to listen to the problem. I'm about to give you the solution, so you can just disregard the problem.
Man, we you know, well, let's. I'm gonna give you the answer to the test.
Yep.
You're gonna take the test.
Yep.
I'm gonna give you the answer to the test.
answers. Yep.
And why not? Why not take it? And it's not cheating.
Yeah.
Because we all know as competitors, if you
Yeah.
ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
You ain't trying.
So
Exactly.
that's why I'm giving you the answers.
Yeah. You know what? Brilliant. I told y'all, special guest, man. I'm trying to tell
man,
you.
I'm feeling this energy right now,
I'm trying
bro.
to tell
I'm
you.
feeling this energy. I'm sorry. I'm hyped right now.
Yeah, same here. No, listen, you don't understand how much is needed. I mean, like I said, we share the same why.
Right.
I mean, that's why I've started all of this. Is like, okay, we always hear the negative, and I'm like, you know what? Because I come in crossing with other great people who played sports all over the world. I'm like, you know what? No one ever highlights their story. You know, people highlight the Kobe's and the LeBrons, which is they are doing remarkable stuff.
Oh my gosh.
But there's the other guys who don't have that large of a platform that's doing just as great stuff in the community, in the world. I'm like, you know what? They need a stage too.
And it's so smart because there's so many. You look at all the social medias, you look at all of the networks, whether it's ESPN, NFL, or the news in general, and you might hear about something that took place that was out of character, out of line, and it was wrong from an athlete. But you hear 5, 10, 15 of those stories where there's 100, 200, 500 stories of a guy like yourself who's doing great work, and you're providing a platform for former athletes to come in and say, look, let's inspire the next generation.
Yeah.
So why aren't people sitting here right now with us in this studio and going, look, let's cover this story. Now, you know what? And our job is tomorrow we're going to go find the next batch of athletes who are doing great stuff too. Why?
Exactly.
Because now all of a sudden, as a parent, as a coach, as a teacher, and as an athlete myself, the only thing I'm getting exposed to is the negativity.
Absolutely.
And we know that in order to get more negativity, you just keep feeding negativity.
Absolutely.
Keep feeding negativity.
Absolutely.
So that's what I think is so great about this aspect of your business and your passion, because you are literally giving cheat codes to people who need it.
Who need it,
Who
yeah.
maybe you had it or didn't have it when you came up, but now all of a sudden you get to pass it back and you're going back to the people and saying, look,
Exactly.
you might not have it,
Yeah.
but once I give it to you, you can't pretend
You can't
not.
pretend
You
not
can't
have it.
pretend not
Exactly.
have it.
And that's how I was looking at your journey. It's like, I'm allowing you to step on my shoulders. Like, I got some tall shoulders, but I'm going to give you the opportunity to step on my shoulders. So I'm giving you a head start. You have no excuse.
None.
And that's what you're telling, the audience that you're speaking with. And I did feel the mission. So The Relentless Pursuit to Greatness was the second book.
That's the second book.
Okay,
yeah.
my fault. I got
no,
it
no,
out of
no,
order.
no. You're all right.
Yeah, tell us about the first one and how
All
that
right,
come about.
All right. So Permission to Dream,
Yeah.
man, that was my first book. That was my baby. That was everything. In 2014 is when we published it. 2013 is when we started to write it. And it came from, in 2011 when I got hurt and I was in Carolina, I still had 8 more weeks out in Charlotte. And I remember thinking to myself, what am I going to do? Because I can't practice. I can go to meetings and I can work out, supposedly. But what am I going to do? Now that's 12 o'clock. You still got 12 more hours in this day.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do, Thomas?
do?
And so my mom told me at a very young age, she said, Thomas, no matter how much money you make in life, no matter how much success you get, never let it affect the impact that you have on people.
Okay.
She said, your impact on people is more important than anything. And so I'll never forget that. She's like, if you have a lot, if you have a little.
Thanks, Mom. I'm using that too.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mom.
Right? So for me, it was, okay, now I have this free time.
Yeah.
But what am I doing to mankind? How am
Yeah.
I impacting and affecting mankind? And so I teamed up with a couple of organizations where I went out and spoke to schools, and I spoke to nonprofit organizations and keynote speaker at galas and everything like that. And I remember when the feeling after probably my second or third, when people started asking, it started getting question and answer time, where I started to notice people didn't understand my journey.
Got it.
Because they were speaking to me as the man I was then, not the man that I've become.
Okay.
And so they were saying, well, it's easy for you to say that because you're a linebacker for the Carolina Panthers.
Right.
It's easy to say that because you make X amount of dollars. It's
Right.
easy for you to say that because you're on TV every week.
Right.
And I thought to myself, none of us look like where we've been.
This is true.
If I showed you where you've been, you wouldn't look at me the same way.
Yep. You're right.
Because I haven't always been here.
Exactly.
I got here.
I got here. Yep.
And I climbed here, and this is where I am now. And so I remember I got to write I have to share my story. And you know, when you speak, you only have an hour.
Yeah.
And so you might only can be able to spend 15, 20 minutes on, you know, a little bit of your story, but then you got to get into the meat and potatoes of your content
Absolutely.
and what you're getting ready to talk about. And so for me, I said, I got to write a book. I got to write a book. And I didn't want to do it until, you know how you think about some things, and then when God wants you to have it, he makes it crystal clear.
Crystal clear. Yep.
One day I'm working out, and I see somebody who, I'm working out the Santa Monica stairs, and I see somebody who I know, and they ask me like, hey man, what team are you playing for? And this is during the football season. And I said, oh, I'm done. I'm retired. He said, oh, what are you doing now? And I said, I'm a motivational speaker. He was like, oh, that's great. What's the name of your book? I was like, whoa, wait a minute.
Like, that comes with the package, man.
Right. Like, I'm like, no. You got to ask me, like, what do I talk about? And, you know, who's my audience? But don't ask me about a book. And I'm like, oh, I don't have one, right? And I just left that. 2 days later, I'm at Starbucks. Same exact thing happens. This is a complete stranger.
Wow.
Oh, hey, what's your name? Da-da-da. What do you do? Right?
Yeah.
You're waiting in line. What's the name of your book? I'm like, that's two. I'm like, wait a minute. This is weird. The third and final straw was this. I went to a barbecue, and it was one of the holidays, or it was like a Sunday out at the beach in Orange County. Somebody introduced me as like the guest. Like, this is Thomas. He's a motivational speaker. Used to play football. And somebody goes, what's your name of your book?
Wow. Crazy.
As soon as that, I was like,
Okay.
okay,
I get it.
I surrender.
Yeah, I get it.
I
Yeah.
surrender. So we started that journey, and this was something too that I think was helpful for me, is that I gave myself a task for a complete season.
Okay.
And so, you know, when you go to training camp, your body just knows it. You
Yeah,
get ready
yeah.
to go into training camp, you're
Yeah.
going to OTAs, you're going to practice, you're going to weights, your body feels it.
Yep.
And so I said, I'm going to play a season. But my season ain't going to be football. It's not going to be 16 or 17 weeks. My season is going to be this book.
Yeah.
And so every day, I'm going to study it.
Yep.
I'm going to get ready for it. I'm preparing for it. When I write it, just like a season. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know how you want to look at it, but I took it all the way into June or July, which means I would have probably played 2 or 3 football seasons.
Right.
But it kept me occupied, especially during the season.
Yeah.
When I was watching everybody else play. And you feel sorry for yourself, and you know that negativity creeps in.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, you should be out there too, or oh, what, you ain't good enough? Oh, yeah. And that self doubt started kicking.
fuel.
I had something to do,
Yeah.
and I had a bigger task than winning the Lombardi.
Absolutely, man. That's crazy that you're sharing that. So, I mean, you have 2 books. First of all, for people that are aspired to be an author, because like I said, I shared the same struggle with you. I mean, self-published author as well. Kind of take us through that process, because did you have writer's block? I know at first when the light bulb comes on, it's like, I got all this information.
Right,
but then
right.
you look down, you're like, dang, I'm only 5 pages in. What else do I write? Like, how do I break it down? Like, how was you able to, first of all, start something and finish it to where, and what's unique about writing a book, no one else, it's different from like, okay, I started a business, so people are relying on me because I'm going to have, you know, clients, or I work for someone, or I'm in a project with someone, so people are relying on me. When you sit down and write a book, it's all you.
Right.
It's all you.
Yep.
And so it takes a certain type of mindset, just like you said, you treat it like a season, to where it's like, I'm just going to focus on this until it's done. Share with the audience some of the tools that you use to start something and finish it.
Yeah,
Twice, actually.
Yeah, twice, right? 2 times. I learned this from Muhammad Ali.
Okay.
Where a lot of people, I remember growing up and watching Muhammad Ali, and then even like in college and in the NFL, and watching Muhammad Ali and really taking notice of the character that he became.
Okay.
And the stuff that I read in the different documents that I saw, the documentaries that I saw, I noticed that he was a little bit different when the lights came on.
Okay.
Than he was when he was just hanging around the family or when he was just chilling. So when he trained, he was Muhammad Ali.
Yep.
Like that aura, that persona, all of that. That's who he was. But I also noticed that when he used to talk his trash, he wasn't talking it because he thought he was better than somebody. I read it one time that he talked his trash so much that he had to
back it up.
So how was he going to back it up? By all the training that he did. So if he's out there saying, I'm going to knock you down in 4, and then all of a sudden I'm going to, so he's got to go to work.
I got to do it.
He's got to go to work in the gym, whether it's waking up early and running, going to sleep late and staying up and grinding. And so the same thing happened for me. And I think I did it in football. And when I started writing the book is that I started to tell people.
Man, dude.
I started to tell people. I told people that I wanted to go to the NFL.
Same here.
And so when I told people I was going to the NFL, I said, Thomas, you better do it.
You better do it.
You better do it because it's going to be your name, your reputation on the line. So that when it doesn't happen, people are going to laugh at you.
Yep.
So if you want to tell people you're going to do it,
that type of pressure.
you got to do it.
Yeah.
And so with the book,
the
same thing with the book is like I'm telling people, and this is a little bit of advice that I don't think that you should do because I think that you should always tell people where you are, not where you're going. So that because it takes away from the awe factor, but I needed, especially this first one, I needed to complete it.
Yep, same here.
And again, like you said, that there's nobody watching you, there's nobody relying on you, that you could take 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, you could never finish it.
You can never finish it.
And so I needed to finish it.
Yep.
For my own therapy.
Yep.
And for my own process.
Yep.
And transition. And so I told people about it. And so that every time I saw people,
they
asked me, hey man, how's the book? So that was my accountability partners, right?
Yep.
I didn't have teammates.
Yeah.
But I was used to teammates. And so the people who I told, they would always ask me, hey, how's that book? Hey, aren't you writing a book? And then if they introduce me, oh yeah, Andy's writing a book. There's double pressure.
Yep.
And you, like you said, comfortable at being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And so that's how I started.
Yeah.
That's how I started. That's how I finished it. And I think where I got the writer's block was when I was trying to write the story with every sentence.
Got you. Yeah.
Don't write the story in the whole book with every sentence. Write that sentence.
Write the sentence.
And the whole thing too is people say, well, I don't know where to start. Put your fingers on the keyboard.
Just start.
Or grab a pencil and a pen and just go.
Yep.
Because you're going to trim the fat.
Yep.
Just like when they make movies, you don't see everything. Everything you see isn't everything they filmed.
Absolutely.
The stuff that you see more. You see only a little bit.
Only
of
a
what
little
they
bit.
filmed.
Yep.
You know
that was mine. Like I just wrote how I felt, and then I just started putting the puzzles together from there. And it's funny because a lot of people that are close to me, they're like, man, stop telling people what you're gonna do. Someone gonna steal your idea. I'm like, first of all, if they steal it, it wasn't my idea in the first place.
It wasn't that good.
Exactly. And I was like, I say this because now I know that someone can take the idea. I need to put myself on a type of regimen to where I can get it done.
Yep.
And I like when people ask me, hey, what's up with this project? Because then it puts me back on my grind.
Right.
So it's like being a DB or being under those. You got to perform.
Right.
You put yourself out there.
Right.
You called
Man
out the
coverage.
bully. And you man coverage. You called him out. So now you got to go and do it. So I can definitely attest to where you're coming from with that. So I told you the hour was gonna go by fast, man.
Oh, you didn't lie. You didn't lie.
So
put some more quarters in the meter.
Exactly. Hey, because listen, we really getting down into it. So, man, to really go deep, man, and it seems like literally our values are very parallel and aligned. Even now, I mean, you accomplish so much, but I know you're trying to accomplish more. Man, what's the things that's keeping you up at night?
That's a great question. For me, and this is just my personal perspective, that I enjoyed the NFL. I had a great time in college. I had more fun in college than I did in the NFL. And I remember I got the call, got drafted. I think 3 days later I had to report to Jacksonville. And I walked through the doors, the locker room doors, like I couldn't sleep the night before, right? You're in your hotel and you walk through the doors and you're in the locker room. And I remember the unfulfilled feeling. Like it was a letdown. Like I walked through the doors, both doors swang open, and it was like, this is it?
Really?
This is it.
Wow.
I was like, wow, I made it, and this is it. So I made a promise to myself that I wouldn't chase certain milestones so much. And that's why the relentless pursuit of greatness, and the word greatness, is that there's no limit to it.
Okay.
It's not like I want to be a millionaire, because once you become a millionaire, you might chill, you might stop. What if you could become a billionaire?
Right.
I want to lose 10 pounds. No, I want to lose weight. I want to make as much money as I can, or I want to save money.
I get it.
So the thing that keeps me up at night, and the thing that actually I think is more relevant here, is the thing that gets me out of bed in the morning.
Okay.
Is I have this theory, and I challenge all the athletes out there to help me with discover, to explore this, because I want to know, was I only a great football player or a great athlete, or is greatness in my blood?
That's
Can I be great, period?
Yeah.
Or do I have to listen to the rest of the world that when they told me when I transitioned, well, now welcome to the real world. Welcome to reality. What I take that as is, now the fun's over.
Yeah.
You got to just kind of live life like the rest of us.
Like the rest of us.
I'm not the rest of you.
Not the-
Like you seen the new Russ Westbrook commercial?
Nah.
They say this, they say
Oh,
that.
yeah, that one.
Don't
Yeah.
don't do they, do you.
Yeah, do you. Yeah.
And so I feel that so much when he's talking. First of all, he's one of my favorite players. Like, he's awesome. But that's the thing that wakes me up in the morning. I'm proving to myself, how great can I be? Is my greatness behind me?
Yeah.
Or is greatness in front of me?
Yeah. Right.
And so I don't know. I don't know if you're only able to rub the genie bottle once, where the genie pops out and says, what one wish do you have?
Yeah.
Or can I do everything in my power, and I can rub it every day, every year, and say, this is what I'm going to chase, this is what I'm going to pursue, and this is what I believe that I can have. Because, and I don't know the answer. I might get to my deathbed and they say, you know what, Thomas, you were only supposed to be a great athlete. Well, you could have fooled me.
Right. Yeah. At
So
least I gave it a run.
That's
Right.
what I want to find out
Okay.
every single day.
Okay.
And that's what I challenge every single one of my student athletes, that, are you only great in the jersey?
Okay.
Are you great before you put the jersey on and after you take it off?
Okay. I got
That's
you.
the question. I don't know. I don't have the answer. I'm still exploring mine.
Okay. Okay. I can rock with that. Definitely. Another question I have for you, us being so driven, so by that we're always thinking about, the future.
Yeah.
How can we better ourselves?
Yeah.
How can we make change? How can we change the game? How do you practice on staying in the present and the now?
Well, it's funny. Like a little bit before we jumped on here, I was talking about being present, being fulfilled, being satisfied.
Okay.
And so for me now, I'm able to, when I'm not doing it, whatever it is, this show, working out, speaking engagement, reading a book. When I'm not doing this, I'm doing that.
Okay.
Which means I'm able to put it behind me. So being able to stay present for me, because I couldn't before, because everything was about multitasking.
Right.
Everything's about is all of our coaches said, never mistake activity for productivity.
Yep.
And it's like, well, I want to do so many things that I'm doing something, as opposed to, you know what? When I'm doing this, 100,
Okay.
full speed, everything I got, redlining it.
Got you.
And then when I do the next thing, I'm doing that as best I can. So when I'm sleeping as best as I can. When I'm taking a nap, or when I'm chilling, I'm being lazy, I'm the best. I am a professional lazy person when it's time to be lazy.
Exactly.
I'm a professional sleeper.
Exactly.
And so that really allows me to understand, maximize that time and that space, so that when I'm doing something else, I don't have to think about that. And two, now that I have the rest of my life to do whatever I want,
Yeah.
I can get to it.
You can get to
if
it.
I don't finish it today, I can get to it. And that's me personally. That I don't have the pressures of, you got to hurry up and do it. If there's no sense of urgency, don't create sense of urgency.
Okay. I'm gonna follow that one, because I'm guilty of that. I'm
Yeah.
always like, I need to be doing something. So I need to. Would you say it again?
Which one?
If you don't need to create, you say if you don't need to create.
If you don't need a sense of urgency,
Then
don't
don't
create
create
a
one.
sense of urgency.
That's what I'm gonna work on not doing.
Yeah.
I'll take that advice right
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Definitely. What's next for you, man?
Man, great question. I got a couple of really, really, really cool. Actually, I'm not even going to use the word cool. I'm going to use the word big. I got a couple of big meetings coming up. One's in Indianapolis. Two of those meetings are in Indianapolis, and one of the meetings are in New York. And so it has to do with a couple of businesses that I'm involved in right now. And also, too, man, I want to diversify.
Okay.
I'm starting to invest a little bit more and paying attention to investing.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm invested in a tech company. I'm also part of a video game company. And so, man, I want to, again, it's one of those questions like, was that good? Right? Like Jim Collins' book, Good to Great.
Good to Great.
Was I good? And now I'm going to great? And so, why not? It's that whole thing, like, why not me?
Yeah.
So for me, diversifying with some of my other passions and interests, and enjoying life. I got a couple big trips coming up. Like I'm traveling. I want to see the world, and I'm sure I'd be interested to get your take on that. It sounds like from knowing you that you want to impact and infect the world.
Yeah.
And I believe that in order to do it, you got to see it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if and by that means stepping on the different continents where I just came back.
I wish
from
I was Africa with you. I saw what you was posting. I wish
so
I was
there. To really see the world where, and this is something where I'm understanding that the people in Africa have problems, and over here in America we have issues.
Yeah.
And we don't know how to differentiate the two.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like they have problems, and so man, that's traveling, diversifying with other passions and other interests that I have. And really seeing how great I can be outside of the uniform and the helmet and the jersey and the face mask.
Right.
That's it.
Man, that's a lot, though.
What about you?
What about me? It's going to seem cliche, but, dude, my life's goals is pretty identical to yours. What I had to realize growing up, and I thought it was football that I was chasing, but actually what I was chasing was the ability to give something to the world that was a reflection of me. And at first, I thought it was football. Oh, I'm gifted in football. People appreciate me for what I'm producing. But I realized that it doesn't just have to specify in football. It doesn't even have to specify in this show or my book. But whatever is true to me, my passion, something that I believe in, something that I want to give, that's what greatness is to me. No matter what level it is.
No matter what.
No matter what level.
No matter what.
And as long as I'm chasing that, I'm going to always be fulfilled because I'm not going to really care how you receive it because I know I gave it to you as pure as possible.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what is what's the next? Not even the next. What is one of the next milestones that you have?
It's interesting you're saying that. So right now it is with the athletes. I need to make sure that I give them the tools that they need to be successful in life by utilizing sports principles. Yeah. From there, I'm going to start going on to the world. I want to help the world with everything that I've learned and experienced. So I'm going to help my core first, which is athletes, because this is what grew me of who I am. Yep. Then after that, I'm going to expand that knowledge. Yep. So I see myself one day, along with the Buddhist monks helping the world.
Helping them.
Hey, listen, they can take every aspect of life, to help. So however, like I said, I can be a beacon of hope and I can just give. And the best way that I can give is how I'm going to do it. So I can't put my finger on it yet. I figure that it'll find me.
It will find you.
It'll
will.
find me.
When you're ready, it will appear.
It will appear.
Yeah.
So, man, tell everyone where they can find you before we wrap up.
You can find me Instagram, Mr_TRW. I have Twitter, which is T_Williams56. Facebook, Thomas Williams. Facebook is Thomas R. Williams. TRW Incorporated, that's Facebook. And then we have the website, so keeping up to date is www.thomasrwilliams.com. And yeah, man, this has been awesome. This has been awesome.
Hey, hey, whoever my next guest is, man, I'm telling you, y'all gonna have some big shoes to fill. I knew it was gonna be like this.
You knew it was gonna be heat.
Oh, I knew that.
You knew it was gonna be
dude,
heat?
when I heard you speak, the first time we met, and then I did my little research and my homework on you. I heard a podcast of yours. I'm like, this is this guy. I'm about to talk to a mirror right now, so that's what I.
But I'm gonna be honest with you, man, and this is no disrespect to the other interviews that I've done. And it's different because it's athlete to athlete.
Yeah.
And this has been one of my favorites because of your passion for athletes.
Wow.
And your passion coming out of athletics and transitioning into the rest of the world. So thank you so much, man.
Thank you. I'm putting it out there in the universe. You and I are going to end up doing a symposium.
Come on then,
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
Shoot.
we're gonna
Hey,
put
I
this
don't
together.
need to be up there on stage by myself.
Exactly. We're going to do
It's
it.
lonely at the top.
It's lonely
It's
at
lonely
the
at
top.
the top.
We need more people. Well, it was good to have you, my brother.
Yes, sir, man. Thank
Hey.
you so much.
Thomas Williams, and I'm Jabari K. Smith, and you are experiencing the professional athlete. And until next time, stay positive, stay productive, and stay present. I'm out.